Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to the detailed analysis of current affairs published in the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 2nd of May 2021 which are put up for today's discussion are listed on your screen, and the time stamping for the same is given in the description box. So let us start with the first article itself. So the first article in today's discussion lineup is related to the goods and service tax or the indirect tax in India. As per the article, India has recorded a GST collection of 1.41 lakh crore in the month of April. It also means that India has actually collected about $18 billion of indirect taxes under GST. The context of the article says the gross revenue from goods and service tax has hit a record high of 1.41 lakh crores rupees in the month of April. This is the 7th month in a row that GST has crossed 1 lakh crore mark. It simply means that India's path towards growth is towards the high tax buoyancy. Now what does this show? It simply means that there is an economic recovery, and this economic recovery is far better than what was expected in the last 4 quarters. Now the question arises, why all of a sudden India is observing such a high growth rate as far as GST is concerned? Well, there are certain reasons to this. First being that India is going through an economic recovery. Second being some of the measures like anti-evasion measures, including the e-invoicing, data analytics-led investigation, year-end audit, and the recent financial closure of the companies. All these measures have actually led to the higher data collection and higher tax collection as far as indirect taxation is concerned. Now, something which is given in this article is as of now not more important to you because data is not asked by the UPSC as such, including the monthly data. However, what we need as of now is to know or to revise what GST is all about. If you want to go into the trends of the GST in the past few years or what is the background of the GST, you can go through the video which was discussed yesterday, that is 1st of May 2021 by Baswa sir. So you can go through that link, you can go into the detailed analysis of the GST trends. What we will do today in this video will be what GST is all about and certain basics of GST, including the cascading effect, consumption-based tax, and the destination-based taxation, what they are and how they are important. So if you know a lot about the GST, it would be a revision for you, and if you are new in this field and you find GST to be very confusing, watch this thoroughly. So what is GST or what GST is all about? GST is a unified and all India. These are the two keywords. Unified simply means that there is just one taxation across the nation. Take this for example. You want to go in a party in a fancy restaurant. It is a restaurant which is air conditioned. The taxation on the air conditioned restaurant, let's say, is 18%. So the GST charged on the services and the food you eat is 18%. Now whether this restaurant is situated in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, or maybe in northeastern states does not matter. If it is 18%, it is unified and it will be 18% across the nation. GST is an indirect tax. It simply means the payer of the taxation or the payer of the tax is not the actual person who is bearing the burden. The one on whom the tax is imposed can shift it to the other. Take for example, the product which you are buying in the market and the tax you are paying. The burden of the tax is on you and not the seller or the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper has already paid the tax and he has shifted the burden of the tax on you. Why you? Because you are actually consuming the product. The shopkeeper is not consuming the product, so he will not bear any kind of burden. So, indirect tax simply means when there is a shift in the taxation and the burden to the final consumer. That is the indirect tax. GST was imposed in July 2017 after a very long deliberations and conversations in the Parliament of India. As it is a part of the federal system and it is also part of the economic matter including the taxation, it was undertaken through a constitutional amendment and multiple amendments were included and a separate GST Act was passed. GST is a comprehensive, multi-stage, destination-based tax that is levied on every value addition. Now, what is value addition? Let us understand through the whiteboard. Now, what is value addition? Value addition simply means when you are adding a separate value, and value here means monetary value, not the physical value. When you add a certain value to a product and you charges extra money over it, that is known as the value addition. Assume that you are a manufacturer and you make a product rupees 100. All right. Now, when you make this product rupee 100, the cost of production in manufacturing this 100 rupee was also 100. So if you sell this product at this price, what you are going to gain? Zero. Your profit will be zero. So what you will do, you will add a certain margin to it. What that margin is? That margin is your hard work which you have paid in manufacturing this product. The cost which you have incurred includes the cost of electricity, labor, raw material, or could be anything extra. However, you have already added your margin into it, and together this you will make out a price, let's say 120 rupees. This extra 20 is nothing but the value addition in the product. This 20 rupees is the price which you have added in the product in order to make it a more value added good. If we take the example of bread, which is the very classic example, if you are running a bakery and you have bought flour, wheat flour, you have labor, you have all the machineries, you have that burner and everything else. Now what you have done, combining all those things, you have made out a product which is a bread. So what you have done, you have transported raw material from a wheat flour to a bread. That means you have added something extra to it. And that something extra will add up into the price as well. So government will not take price or the taxation on this. They will take the taxation on the value addition of 20 rupees. So after that, at every stage, including the transportation, wholesaler, retailer and consumer. So at every stage, there will be a kind of value addition. So this 100 rupees will never be counted. Only the value addition at every different stages will be counted. And this value addition will be undertaken for your final determination of the GST. Now coming back to the article, the GST has removed the cascading effect. Now what is cascading effect? It is nothing but the removal of multiple counting or double counting of the same product. Now understand the cascading effect in the following example. Assume that the manufacturer has cost a product 100 rupees. The wholesaler has cost the same product as 130. The retailer at 150, and the final price of the product turn out to be 160 in the market. Now at every stage you can see that there is addition of some kind of value to the actual price. So the earlier regime was the VAT or value added tax, and that tax was actually imposed on the final price. And this final price actually included the intermediary prices as well. So what government has done through the GST, that they have reduced or they have removed the cascading effect of multiple counting of the same product. And now what they have done, they are just counting the value addition, and the tax is imposed on the value addition to a product. Now you can see in this example that the difference between both these value is evident, and that is the reason why GST is assumed to be much more simpler than the value added tax. The multi-stage under GST simply means an item goes through multiple change of hands, as I said, from manufacturer to the wholesaler to the retailer, then to the consumer, and along its supply chain. So where it happens, the entire process goes on under the supply chain. These stages include the purchase of raw material, the production or the manufacture of product, warehousing of the finished good, which also include the transportation cost, selling to the wholesaler, sale to the product to the retailer, the shopkeeper, where you visit. You do not buy product from the wholesaler, you buy it from the retailers. And finally selling to the end consumer. Now all of these stages are called the multi-stage under the GST. So the current GST is levied on all these stages, but only on the value addition and not the cost. As you can see, the GST is levied on the value addition, that is only the monetary value, not the actual addition in the cost. So this monetary value is added at each stage to achieve the final sale to the end consumer, as we have seen here at the 60. And finally, there is another keyword which is known as destination based tax. Destination based tax simply means the tax will be imposed where the final consumption of the good is taking place. It is also known as consumption based tax. I have also listed down an example. Consider this, that the goods are manufactured in Maharashtra and sold to the final consumer in Karnataka. Since goods and service tax is levied at the point of consumption, the entire tax revenue will go to Karnataka and not Maharashtra. Now, why this happens? Because ultimately, who is benefiting? The beneficiary in this case are the consumers of Karnataka. So, the consumer of Karnataka are beneficiaries, then why not the government of Karnataka take the tax? Take the reverse example. If the same thing is happening and people of Karnataka are consuming the goods, but the taxation money is going in the Maharashtra. So who will benefit? The producer of Maharashtra, the government of Maharashtra, and who will lose? The consumers and the government of Karnataka. And this is the reason why it is a destination or the consumption based taxation. Going by the components of GST. Well, there are three basic components of GST: CGST, SGST, and IGST. It is nothing but central, state, and integrated. Now, what is central GST? It is a tax collected by central government on the intra-state sale, example transaction happening in Maharashtra. The second is the tax collected by the state government on intra-state. The keyword here is intra or within the state. Example, the transaction happening within Maharashtra. So both first and the second are the same. Position is same, example is same, only the tax collecting agency is different. On the other hand, the integrated GST is a tax collected by the central government. Now this is a keyword. So IGST is collected by the central government from an interstate. Now interstate means between the state. As we have seen the example of Maharashtra and Karnataka, here you can also see the example of Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. The tax structure under the new GST is as follows. When a product is sold within a particular state. Now what does the new regime says? The new regime says that there will be two authorities or two kind of tax, that is CGST and SGST. What was the earlier stance? Earlier stance was value added tax and the central excise or service tax. Now what is the current distribution model? The revenue will be shared equally between the center and the state. So if a car is manufactured in the state of Haryana, the GST on that car will be shared between government of Haryana and the government of India. On the other hand, when there is a sale to the another state, what is the current status? It will be covered under integrated GST. Earlier the instance was that central sales tax and excise together were taken. Now, how the revenue is distributed? There will be only one type of tax, that is a central, because central is the only authority which is covering up the tax in this case. So central will distribute or share the IGST revenue based on the destination of that good. So if good is arriving to Karnataka, central government will cover the taxation and will share it with the state of Karnataka. Following are the taxes which are replaced by GST. Although we have covered this on multiple instances in the previous video also, so I am just going to take up as a revision. First is the central excise duty. What is excise duty? Excise duty is the tax which is imposed on a product when it leaves the production unit. So when the product comes out of a factory, the first taxation imposed on that product is the excise or the excise duty. Then there are duties of excise, then there are additional duties on excise, additional duties of customs. Custom is nothing but export and import duties. Then there is special additional duty of custom. We have cess, we have state VAT, which are also under the GST now. We have central sales tax, we have purchase tax, we have luxury tax, entertainment tax, entry tax, taxes on advertisements, and taxes on lottery, betting, and gambling. All these are now replaced by the GST. Then comes the another bouncer. I would say bouncer because these are the areas where UPSC can play with you in order to get you confused. Now these are the goods and services which are not covered under the GST. Take for example, the voluntary services or the services given by the NGOs. These are also the services, they are helping the humanity, they are helping the human race. However, these services are not taxed. Another example is the services provided by the religious institutions. If you have read your beloved M. Lakshmikant, you must have been aware of the fact that institutional which are run by the religious purposes or the temples, mosques, churches are not taxed in India under the fundamental rights. However, certain fines, penalties, certain fees can be imposed on that. However, that is a different matter altogether. But these are the certain kind of services which are excluded from the GST. On the other hand, if we talk about the goods including the live fish, fish which is captured by the fisherman across India, fresh fishes, fresh milk, okay, ginger, garlic, these are the many other goods which are excluded or not included in the GST. Supplies that attract nil rate of taxation or the 0% of taxation include cereals, fresh fruits and vegetables which you buy every day from the groceries. Those vegetables and fruits are not taxed under GST. Natural honey, salt and other things. And lastly, we have, along with the above, the petroleum or the crude petroleum, high speed diesel, petrol, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel, and finally, the electricity and alcohol are excluded from the GST. Now, before concluding this discussion, I want to give you an important difference between 0% taxation and complete exclusion. Now, petroleum and alcohol is completely excluded from the GST. On the other hand, there are certain items on which there is 0% taxation. At the end of the time, as a consumer, you must be thinking that the both are same. Excluded from GST means that taxation is there, but this taxation is not as per the rules of GST. For example, the petrol prices in Rajasthan or the petrol prices in Odisha are different because they are out of the GST. Taxation is there, but it is different. It is not unified under the GST. On the other hand, 0% taxation means they are under the GST, but taxation is zero. So the product is paid or the product is bought without any taxation. So if you are buying salt from the market and you see that there is 0% taxation on this, it means it is under the GST, but government is not taking any money. On the other hand, petroleum or the alcohol things are outside the GST, but the government is taking tax on that. And lastly, who is exempted from the GST? All those businesses which have turnover up to 20 lakh, that is below 20 lakh, are exempted from the GST registration. So the barber who is sitting under the tree, the cobbler, or the one who is providing the rickshaw services, they are exempted from GST. So these are the poor people who are not included in the GST at all. With this, we now move to the next article. So the next article is related to the important defense deal where India and US are the bilateral partners. This article is related to the recent approval of the sale of 6 P-81 patrol aircraft to India. And this aircraft will be sold off by US, and this aircraft is created or is manufactured by Boeing company. As far as this matter is concerned, it is very relevant for your prelims examination, including your major defense deals, and for mains examination, of course, it is a matter of national security where you can quote these kind of examples to support your arguments. UPSC has already asked a question on the defense deal where it has asked that what is terminal high altitude area defense or THAAD, which is sometimes seen in the news. Well, as per this, UPSC is simply asking that what this THAAD is. They have not asked which country is importing it, which country has manufactured it, or what are the major defense partners. They've just asked what is this. So under this question, the answer was simply it was an American anti-missile system. Okay, so moving ahead, going by the background of this article, well, originally proposed for the 10 aircrafts, well, India was actually proposing to buy 10 aircrafts for its patrolling fleet in the Indian Navy, but due to budget constraint and reliance over unmanned aircraft. Now, this is a good or new area where India is venturing, the unmanned aircraft, because unmanned aircraft can save lives of our soldiers or our pilots who are patrolling in a very extreme situations and conditions. So after both these conditions, the demand came down to 6, and this purchase was actually approved by the Defense Acquisition Council chaired by our Honorable Defense Minister. As India has signed the Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement, which we will discuss very shortly, also known as COMCASA, because of this agreement, what India will observe is that it will get a fitted encrypted system. So this will enhance the security setup which is available in these aircrafts. It is an American maritime patrol aircraft developed by the Boeing Defense for the US Navy. So this aircraft is used by Navy and not the Air Force. The addition of the letter I, which you can see over here, this addition for the letter I in P8 is nothing but denotes the Indian edition of the aircraft. The aircraft is designed for long range anti-submarine warfare. So if in near future India goes into a war as far as India's maritime security is concerned, so it can help India to fight the submarine as well. It will also have capacity for anti-surface warfare and an intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions. So at all these things, India will get benefit from this aircraft. Now going by the different terms which was used in the article, and the term was Defense Acquisition Council. What this body is, it is the highest decision making body as far as defense matters are concerned. It is under the supervision of the Defense Ministry. The objective of the council is very simple. It is for deciding on the new policies and capital acquisitions for three services. So it is dedicated to all three defense forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, and also the Indian Coast Guard. The chairman of the council is, of course, without no doubt, is the Minister of Defense. And it was formed after the group of ministers' recommendations on reforming the national security system in 2001 post Kargil War of 1999. However, there is another organization or another body which is functioning under the Ministry of Defense, and multiple times students do get confused between both these bodies, that is DAC and DPC. DPC or Defense Planning Committee, it was notified in 2018 under the Ministry of Defense, and it was also notified by the same ministry. This committee is functioning under the chairmanship of National Security Advisor. Now, I request you to comment in the comment box that who is the current National Security Advisor of India. It is a very simple answer, guys, and you should know about such kind of top level officers. He is an ex-IPS officer, by the way. The other members of the committee include the Defense Secretary, Chief of Defense Staff, and Chief of Naval Staff, among others. The objective of the committee is very simple. It is created to analyze and evaluate all the relevant inputs regarding the defense planning. So whatever defense planning is going on in India, including the national security structure, is actually undertaken by this committee. This planning includes national defense and security priorities, foreign policy imperatives, optional directives, associated requirements, relevant strategic and security related doctrine, defense acquisition and infrastructure development plans, not the projects but the plans. And it also includes the 15-year long-term integrated perspective plan. So this is a kind of plan India is envisaging for the next 15 years in order to secure its setup. Next is the defense technologies and development of India's defense industries and global technological advancement. So this committee also recommends the Ministry of Defense for upcoming technologies and how India can adopt and in fact manufacture those technological advancement in the country itself. And lastly, we come up with what is COMCASA. What is this agreement and why this agreement is important for India? Well, this agreement is nothing but the specific version of communication, interoperability and security memorandum of agreement. This was signed between India and US in September 2018 and it is valid for the period of 10 years. So it is not a permanent agreement. You should remember this. So 10 years means till 2028. The objective of this agreement is simple. It will allow India to use United States encrypted communication and their equipments and systems. So what India will do, India will have access to all those requirements. And the US military commanders, aircraft, ships can communicate through the secure network in peace and war. So what does simply means? When India has signed the COMCASA agreement will allow India to have encrypted communication. Take for example, India is monitoring Indian Ocean and some of the US warships or maybe some of the US military ships are in the Indian Ocean as well. So what they can do, both these countries can communicate with each other, they can provide the relevant information to each other and yet remain stealth or hidden from the other nations. So this kind of hideous activity can help to detect the enemy ships, can help to detect the enemy activities in the region itself. So this is a very, very relevant agreement as far as India's national security is concerned. It also paved a way for transfer of communication security equipments, including the current P-8I aircraft, from the US to India to facilitate the interoperability. Moving ahead to the next article. The next article is associated with the international affairs of power projection. This article actually deals with an important agreement which was signed 6 years ago, about 6 years ago actually. And this agreement was signed between major powers in the one hand and Iran on the other hand. As per the article in the newspaper, China, Germany, France, Russia, Britain are actually trying to bring US, United States, back in JCPOA. Now, what is JCPOA? And this is actually the discussion matter today in this article. It is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, aka also known as Nuclear Deal with Iran. The background of this deal is very simple. This deal was signed between Iran and several world powers, including China, Germany, France, Russia, Britain, and US. And this was signed in July 2015. And the objective of the deal is very simple. What this deal says that Iran would dismantle much of its nuclear program. Nuclear program here simply means program to enrich the uranium. When a country achieves this milestone to enrich their uranium or the uranium available to them, it is a case when they can use this uranium or the enriched uranium for two simple purposes. First being to produce clean energy or nuclear power. The second being to produce weapons. Now the question is why these powers are worried about Iran. Most of the powers have their own nuclear weapon. You know the case of Russia and US who have a stockpile of over 10,000 nuclear weapons. You know the case of China. You know the case of France. Then why these countries are very apprehensive about Iran? The simple reason being that Iran is a fundamentalist nation and it is surrounded by nations where terrorist organizations are very, very active, including the state of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And this is one of the reasons why these nations are very apprehensive about the nuclear program in Iran. So as per the agreement, Iran will dismantle its nuclear program and open its facilities, including the nuclear power plants, for more extensive international inspection in exchange of billions of dollars worth of sanction relief. Sanction relief here simply means that these nations will not put any sort of economic restrictions on Iran and Iran can trade freely in the international market. The most important thing, which is a matter of relevance for Iran, is oil. So Iran's majority of export earning comes from oil. And once these kind of restrictions are imposed on Iran, it cannot export oil and it will debarred from the export-led growth. In 2018, US unilaterally withdrew from the agreement, and this was a kind of a shocker because this has actually aggravated the crisis which was brought down by last to last president Barack Obama. The reaction to this withdrawal from Iran was very simple. In retaliation for this, Iran actually resumed some of its previous nuclear activities, including the enrichment of the uranium. Now, these are some of the pointers which tell us about the brief history of this entire issue. So, if you are new and you have never read about this agreement or you do not know anything about the past history of nuclear program in Iran, these pointers can be very helpful. Now, what happened about 50 years ago? Well, Iran agreed to forego the development of nuclear weapons. The Iran said that it will not develop any nuclear weapon as it was a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, to which India is not a member. And as this treaty was enforced since 1970s, so during 1970s, Iran had no objective to prepare or to make a nuclear weapon. So nations in Asia were creating nuclear weapons at that point of time. So Iran, on the other hand, denied any such kind of move. However, After the overthrow of the Pahlavi dynasty in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, it is very relevant for your world history event as well. So, Iranian leaders secretly pursued the technology to create enriched uranium. In later on, during 1980s, Iran reinstated its nuclear program with assistance from their beloved friends Pakistan, China, and Russia. And Pakistan and China have been very notorious as far as transfer of nuclear technology is concerned. Later on, Iran itself began an indigenous nuclear fuel cycle capability by developing a uranium mining infrastructure and experimenting with uranium conversion and enrichment. So, as I said, after the help from these countries, Iran began on the enrichment of the nuclear fuel. In one of the intelligence report in the United States, it said that although Iran has halted its work on the nuclear weapon in 2003, but secretly it has acquired nuclear technologies and expertise. Under the presidentship of Hassan Rouhani, Iran has actually agreed not to pursue either the highly enriched uranium or the plutonium that could be used in nuclear weapons. It took steps to ensure that Fordow, Nantas, and Arak facilities pursued only for the civilian work, including the medical and the industrial research. So, if you've read about the basic sciences in the 10th NCRT or maybe the 9th NCRT, you must be well aware that nuclear power can be used for purposes other than weapons. It includes medical and industrial research as well. The agreement which we have just discussed has limited the number and types of centrifuge Iran can operate. Of course, this will restrict the development of a weapon, the level of its enrichment, as well as the size of the stockpile of the enriched uranium. So, the agreement simply says that Iran cannot have enriched uranium beyond a certain limit, and restricting that can ensure that Iran will not create nuclear weapons for its own. Because once the Iran creates a nuclear weapon on its own, it will create a security disbalance in West Asia, and it will create a dynamo effect when nations like Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and other small nations including Afghanistan, Oman, and Yemen can also fight for nuclear weapons, and this can create a security issue for the entire Asia and world together. So overall, we will conclude that if these parties or these nations get success in bringing USA back on the track, what we will have a secure deal for Iran as well as for the other players, and a clear-cut peace initiative in the region. Now, apart from this, as map is also important for your UPSC prelims examination, we will look into the map of Iran and as such its neighboring areas including India. As you can see in this map, this is the area of India, including the coast of Gujarat. Here we have ports, including Kandla and other ports. And this area, or this is the border between Iran and Pakistan. This is the place where we have Chahabar port. And this is actually the route which is taken by Indian ships to transport between Iran and India. And this is now a very important trading route as well. This is your Strait of Hormuz. It's a very narrow place. On the left side, we have Persian Gulf. On the right side, we have Gulf of Oman. Why Gulf of Oman? Because this nation is Oman. Here we have Saudi Arabia, the largest nation in the region. This is Iran. The northern part of Iran is actually a green portion because of this sea. Now, what is this sea? What is the name of this sea? This is your Caspian Sea. On the right side, you have Afghanistan, you have Pakistan. On the left side of Iran, there is Iraq. This nation is Iraq. This is Kuwait. Here are the small nations like Bahrain, UAE, and Qatar. On the northwestern side, we have two important countries, Azerbaijan and Armenia, and these are the nations which are under dispute for their border. And lastly, Iran also share its border with the other nation or other powerful nation in the region, Turkey. And on the northeastern side, it shares border with the Turkmenistan. So this was a brief idea about the region and the map of this region. So you should know some basic ideas about this area because UPSC can ask questions from this. With this, now we move on to the next article. So the second last article for the day is related to the cotton crop and cotton production in India. As per the article, cotton production is estimated to be lower at 360 lakh bales this year. However, this lower does not mean a drastic fall. This only means that previously there was 365 lakh bales. This year it has been fallen by 5 lakh bales. The Committee on Cotton Production and Consumption expects India's cotton production to fall from 365 lakh bales last year to 360 lakh bales this year. During 1950s, that is just 4 years after our independence, the production of cotton in India was around 30 lakh bales. Now you can see the kind of quantum jump that we have made from 30 to 360. As far as cotton is concerned, it is very important point from a prelims perspective, including the important crops, economic data trend. On mains perspective, cropping seasons and issues related to the different industries could be asked as far as cotton is concerned. In this infograph and flowchart, you can see the different uses for which cotton plant can be used. However, this is not related to the article as such, but you should know that what kind of uses this plant can be put to. Well, basically there are two uses. First, the cotton flower or the cotton bud itself, and the second one is the stem. The stem can be used for fuel, paper, and for packaging purposes. The cotton flower or the fiber which is extracted is of course definitely used for your textile purposes. We have cotton textiles, we wear that. On the other hand, we have the leftover part is the seed. The seed is very actually important. The first thing which you can do from the seed is extract seed oil. The seed oil can be extracted through pressing down the seeds, and when they are squeezed, the oil which is obtained is the cotton seed oil. This oil can be used for your soaps and lubricant manufacturing and can also be used for hydrogenation of the oil. The leftover part of the seed or the de-oiled part of the seed is known as de-oil cakes. It is used as a feed to the cattle, including the cows, buffaloes and others, and also as a manure. Now let us see something about the cotton as such. At about 18% of the total, India is the largest producer of cotton crop in the world. This is a very important point. India is the largest cotton producer. UPSC has already asked about the similar kind of question in the prelims related to the rice. Cotton is a crop of tropical and subtropical. It simply means that you cannot grow cotton crop in Russia or Siberia. It requires uniformity of high temperature varying between 21 to 30 degrees. So it does not require very extreme temperature. The growth of cotton is retarded when the temperature falls below 20 degrees. Frost is the enemy number one of the cotton. So once a cotton is surrounded by the frost or the low temperature, it kills the plant and the crop gets damaged. And it is grown in the areas of having at least 210 frost free days. So this is a keyword that a cotton crop cannot be grown in low temperature areas or the frost rendering areas. Well, cotton is a kharif crop. However, in states like Tamil Nadu, it is grown both as kharif as well as the rabi crop. It means Tamil Nadu is the area which does not faces a problem of frost. However, in the state of Punjab, you will have the season of winters and you can find the frost being part of the daily weather pattern. Water requirement is actually close to 50 to 100 centimeters. Another fact is that only 1/3 of the cotton producing area is irrigated. That is, there is 2/3 of the area which is under rain fed. About 80% of the total irrigated area of cotton is in Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat and Rajasthan. So together they make the western part or the northwestern part of India as their favorite area of cropping pattern. It requires 6 to 8 months to mature and the cotton cultivation is closely related to deep black soil, also known as regular soil of the Deccan and the Malwa Plateau. These are available in the Gujarat as well. The reason being that the black soil is good in holding the moisture or the water content and also providing a good clay and mineral content required by the plant. The map on the left side of your slide is the map taken from the NCRT. So this is one of the most authentic map available. The region in the dark shaded are the cotton growing regions. So you can see that the right from the state of Tamil Nadu till the Punjab and entire region is almost on the western front of India. Area shaded in the light zone is nothing but the area of jute cultivation. However, that is not a matter of today's discussion. India is a country that grows all four species of the cotton. These are the names of the four species. You need not to read them or need not to learn them. This is just a matter of discussion. Despite being the largest producer, India is not the largest exporter. United States is the largest exporter of cotton in the world. The Ministry of Agriculture, based on the recommendation of Advisory Board, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. Well, this is the commission. It also advises for the MSP or minimum support price to over 22 crops. Lastly, the Cotton Corporation of India, which was given in the article itself, has been nominated by the Government of India for undertaking the MSP operations in the event when price of seed cotton or the kapas, it is also the Hindi name of cotton, touch MSP level for procuring entire quantity of kapas offered by the cotton farmers. So when the price of the cotton falls or goes closer to the MSP, it is the duty of CCI to procure such kind of cotton from the farmer through various APMC mandis or APMC markets at MSP rates without any quantitative limit. So take for example, today the price of cotton is about 100 rupees a kg and the MSP of the same is 80 rupees. But what happens that on 3rd of May the price of the cotton falls to 80 rupees. In that case, the government or the CCI will procure unlimited quantity from the farmers at MSP or the 80 rupees without any conditions, and this purchase will be done through APMC mandis. Following are some of the graphs which mentions about the major crops and their trend in the last 4-5 years. UPSC may ask trend based questions in the prelims as such. The graph in the green color denotes the quantity produced as far as cotton is concerned. As you can see, right from 2016 to 2020, there has been a rise in the cotton production. However, in these 2 years, that in 2017-18 to 18-19, there was actually a downfall. So the trend says that the cotton production in the last 5 years has not been very consistent in one direction. Neither it was decreasing altogether nor it was increasing altogether, at least it was fluctuating. As far as other crops are concerned, you can pause the video and you can see their trend as well. And the same is true with the exports of the cotton is concerned. These are the basic categorization of the agricultural exports by different quantities. As we will cover up only the cotton here, we will not be concerned about the other crops. However, you can pause the video and you can check the trend. So in the last 3-4 years, we can see the exports of different crops is concerned. This area actually shows the exports of the cotton. So you can see that in 2018 and 19, the cotton exports was higher. It came down in 2019 and 20, and in 2021, it came further down. So this entire table shows that the agricultural exports of cotton is going in the downward trend as far as last 2 years are concerned, not beyond that. With this, now we move on to our final article of the day. So the last article for the day is part of a news initiative which we have started. And this initiative is that I will be discussing up important government schemes and programs which may be asked in the upcoming prelims as well as the mains examination. As you are going to be part of the government, you should be well aware of the important government schemes which are functioning in and around you. So UPSC may ask questions related to the basic objective of those schemes. They can also ask questions related to the components and the basic provisions of the scheme. So, going by the tradition and going by the historical aspect, the scheme which we will put up for today's discussion is the Ayushmaan Bharat program. It is an add-on, it is not part of your today's newspaper. So we will not venture into the details of the scheme, or we will not go into the pros, cons, way forward and other aspect of the scheme. We will just go through a small and brief revision. The objective of Ayushman Bharat is to achieve the vision of universal health coverage. So it is a social security scheme which provides health insurance. It is not a scheme to provide a kind of health benefit directly. It is a health insurance based scheme. There are two components of the scheme, first being the Health and Wellness Center and second being the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Health and Wellness Center were actually envisaged in the National Health Policy of 2017. Now, please comment in the comment box that which authority in India or institution actually gave this National Health Policy in the public domain in the year of 2017. Under this scheme, 1.5 lakh centers will be set up and they will provide comprehensive healthcare. Comprehensive healthcare means everything possible as far as small health needs are concerned. They also include non-communicable diseases and the maternal and child health services. As far as child health and maternal services are concerned, you should know the current status of IMR, MMR and TFR. They will also provide essential free drugs and diagnostic services also. The contributions through CSR or corporate social responsibility and the philanthropic institutions in adopting these centers are also envisaged. So if you are a private party, if you are a corporate center, you can provide money, or you can also set up such kind of initiatives or centers in order to provide healthcare services. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana will reduce the out-of-pocket hospitalization expenses. So when a person is treated at his house, or when he is treated as any other place other than the hospital, it is not part of this program. So the person should be hospitalized. So it will reduce the expenditure by providing a basic health insurance coverage up to 5 lakh rupees per family per year for secondary and tertiary. Well, these are the two key points, that primary services are not part of this scheme. This Yojana will include the two ongoing centrally sponsored scheme, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana and the Senior Citizens Health Insurance Scheme. Now these are some of the key words and key provisions available under the scheme. The scheme allowed to take cashless benefits. So you need not to carry cash to the hospital in order to pay your expenses from any public and private empaneled. Empaneled means the hospital where you are going for the hospitalization should be part of the empanelment hospitals. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to take benefits of the scheme. The target under the scheme is around 10 crore families based on the socio-economic caste census, including those under Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. So those who were under the RSBY will automatically be included under this program, and 10 crore families mean that around 50 to 55 crore people in India will be taken up under the scheme. There is no cap on the family size. So family size could be as small as one person and as large as could be anything. It goes till your imagination. And there is also no restrictions as far as age of the victim or the patient is concerned. It will cover pre and post hospitalization expenses. All pre-existing diseases are also covered. So it does not mean that after the launch of the scheme, if you are getting ill or if you are getting sick, you will be covered. If you are already going through under some disease, or if a person is already sick under some disease, they will be covered. It will also pay a defined transport allowance per hospitalization to the beneficiaries. The expenditure incurred in the premium payment will be shared between central and the state government. It is obviously because most of the schemes under this kind of a program is shared between center and the state. State will be allowed to expand the scheme both horizontally and vertically. It simple means they can expand the number of people in the scheme, as well as they can also increase the funds available to the beneficiaries. The government pay a fixed premium to the insurance company, which will pay the fund to the hospital. So hospital will not get fund directly from the government. There will be a mediator, and that mediator will be the insurance company. And lastly, the cadre of certified frontline health service providers or the professionals will be provided under this scheme, and they will be known as Pradhan Mantri Arogya Mitra. So this was all about the Ayushmaan Bharat program, its component and major provisions. So this was just a kind of revision to provide you the basic detail of the scheme. Now, before moving towards the question of the day, it is an important announcement which I would like to make from myself and from the behalf of the entire team of Rouse IAS, that there is a medical emergency in our nation. People are dying every day. You must have seen those horrible photographs in the newspaper. They are published every day. People are dying because of the disease. People are losing their family members, and they are also losing the hard earned money in that. Hence, on others' behalf and on my own, I would request all of the viewers who are watching this video right now to remain safe, always wear a mask, do not go in the public places unnecessarily, try to maintain the social distancing as much as possible, try to help people who are in need. If you can do that through physically or through your money available, just do that. Try to keep yourself safe as much as possible. And in last, remember this: before you get vaccinated, prevention is the everything you need to go through. So it was just a clear-cut message from me. Please try to follow all these conditions as much as possible and try to stay safe. And in last, we come to the question of the day. The question of the day for yesterday is given on the left side of your screen. You must have saw this, and the answer to this question is option A. And the question of the day for today is on the right side. Read it clearly, solve it clearly, and put up your explanation and the answer in the comment box. As of now, this was all, guys. Thank you very much for being part of this discussion and being attentive. Work hard, work smart, stay safe. Bye for now.